The slap echoed through the hospital cafeteria like a gunshot. Arya stumbled backward, her hand flying to her burning cheek, the other instinctively protecting her swollen belly. 5 months pregnant, carrying a child that wasn't hers to keep. "You social climbing parasite!" Vivienne Sterling's voice cut through the stunned silence. Her diamond rings had left a mark. "Security, remove this woman from my sight. Touch her, and you'll be arrested for assaulting the mother of my child." Brooks Sterling's voice thundered across the room as he rushed to shield Arya. The entire cafeteria froze. Because everyone knew the Sterlings. Everyone knew Brooks was married to the elegant Clementine. So who was this black nurse clutching her pregnant stomach? And why had the most powerful woman in Boston just slapped her in front of 50 witnesses? The answer would destroy 3 families, or save them all. I'm James, and today's story is going to take you on an emotional roller coaster. We're talking about a nurse who made an impossible choice to save her dying mother. A desperate couple fighting for their family, and a billionaire who'll stop at nothing to destroy them all. This story has everything: sacrifice, betrayal, courage, and one slap that changed everything. You won't want to miss a single second. Let's dive in. The fluorescent lights in Beacon Hill, General's basement break room, buzzed like dying insects. Arya Vance pressed her forehead against the cool metal of her locker, her scrubs still damp from where Mrs. Patterson in 304 had vomited blood on her shoulder an hour ago. The smell of disinfectant couldn't quite cover the copper tang that seemed permanently embedded in her nostrils these days. Her phone vibrated. Another text from Mayo Clinic's billing department. She didn't open it. She knew what it said. The same thing it had said for 3 weeks. Her mother had 11 days before they cancelled the surgery slot. 11 days to come up with $73,000. "Vance, you're up in VIP. Charge Nurse Deborah didn't look up from her clipboard. Sterling family. 4th floor." Arya's stomach dropped. Everyone knew the Sterlings. Their name was carved into the hospital's east wing. Brooks Sterling's great-grandfather had basically built half of Boston's skyline. "Can't someone else? They requested the best oncology nurse we have." Deborah's eyes softened for just a moment. "That's you, honey. Even when you look like death warmed over." The elevator to the 4th floor was lined with actual cherry wood paneling. Arya caught her reflection in the polished brass doors. Dark circles under her eyes. Her natural hair pulled back so tight her temples ached. She looked exactly like what she was. A woman running on 3 hours of sleep and gas station coffee. The VIP wing didn't smell like a hospital. It smelled like expensive perfume and fresh flowers. The floors were real Italian marble. Arya's sneakers squeaked against them, announcing her arrival like an alarm. She heard the voice before she saw the woman. "I don't care about your love, Brooks." Each word was carved from ice. "If the fertility panel shows Clementine, is the reason the Sterling name ends with you. She is out of the will, out of the house, and out of your life by sunset." Arya froze at the corner. Through the partially open door of the consultation room, she could see them. Brooks Sterling stood with his back to her, his shoulders rigid beneath an expensive suit. The woman facing him was in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a style that probably cost more than Arya's monthly rent. Vivienne Sterling. the matriarch herself, and sitting in the chair between them, crying so quietly it was almost soundless, was the most beautiful woman Arya had ever seen. Clementine Sterling. Her blonde hair fell like silk around shoulders that shook with suppressed sobs. "Mother, please," Brooke's voice cracked. "She's your daughter-in-law. She's my wife. She's a failure." Vivienne's tone didn't change. "The doctors will confirm it tomorrow. No Sterling has ever been unable to produce an heir. It's clearly her deficiency, not yours." Arya should have walked away, should have turned around and requested a different assignment. But Clementine looked up that moment, and their eyes met through the crack in the door. The desperation in that gaze was something Arya recognized. It was the same look her mother had when the first round of chemo failed. She knocked. Vivienne's head snapped toward the door. "We're in a private consultation. I'm Nurse Vance. I was told Mrs. Clementine Sterling needed. We need nothing from you." Vivienne's eyes raked over Arya with the kind of assessment that reduced people to dollar signs. Especially not now. Clementine's voice was barely a whisper. "I'd like the nurse to stay. For my blood draw. The fertility panel." Brooks turned, and Arya saw his face for the first time. He was younger than she expected. Maybe 32. There were lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled often. But he wasn't smiling now, he looked trapped. Of course. Arya stepped inside, her heart hammering. "I'll need to take you to the lab." "You'll do it here." Vivienne moved to the window. "I don't want her paraded through the halls where people can see her upset." "How considerate." Arya thought but didn't say. She prepared the butterfly needle with steady hands, years of practice overriding her nerves. Clementine held out her arm without being asked. Up close, Arya could see the woman was trembling. "Deep breath," Arya murmured. "You'll just feel a small pinch." The needle slid in smoothly. Dark red blood filled the vial. 1, 2, 3 tubes for the comprehensive fertility panel. Arya labeled each one with practiced efficiency. "How long for results?" Vivienne asked. 48 hours for the standard panel. 72 for the comprehensive analysis. Will pay for expedited processing. 24 hours. "Mother," Brooks started. 24 hours, Brooks. Then we'll know the truth, and we can move forward accordingly. Arya finished bandaging Clementine's arm. The woman's skin was cold as marble. "You should rest. Keep your arm elevated." Clementine's fingers suddenly gripped Arya's wrist. Her nails dug in hard enough to hurt. "Please," she whispered, so quietly that only Arya could hear. "Please help me." Before Arya could respond, Vivienne was ushering her toward the door. "You may go. And I trust the Sterling family's medical information will remain confidential." It wasn't a question. It was a command. Arya fled to the elevator, the vials of blood heavy in her pocket like grenades. Her hands shook as she logged into the lab system. She shouldn't look. She absolutely should not look at preliminary markers before the official results came back. But Clementine's desperate whisper echoed in her ears. "Please help me." Arya pulled up the preliminary blood work from Clementine's last physical. Then she cross-referenced it with Brooks, Sterling's annual executive health screening. The hospital kept records on all major donors. Her stomach turned to ice. The preliminary hormone levels were already visible in the system from a previous workup. Clementine's FSH was elevated. Her AMH was nearly undetectable. Her ovarian reserve was that of a woman in her late 40s, not early 30s. But that wasn't what made Aria's blood run cold. It was the notation in Brooks Sterling's file from 18 months ago. A consultation with a reproductive endocrinologist. Semen analysis showing severe oligospermia. A follow-up recommending immediate fertility preservation due to probable genetic condition causing progressive testicular failure. Clementine wasn't the infertile one. Brooks was. And from the looks of these results, Vivienne Sterling either didn't know or was choosing not to know. She was about to destroy her daughter-in-law for a condition her own son carried. Aria sat back, her mind racing. She should stay out of it. This wasn't her family. Wasn't her business. She had her own mother to save, her own impossible bills to pay. But then she thought of Clementine's cold hand, the way Brooks had looked at his wife with such helpless anguish, the casual cruelty in Vivienne's voice. She thought of her own mother, who had raised her alone after her father walked out, who had worked 3 jobs to put Aria through nursing school, who had taught her that doing the right thing mattered more than doing the easy thing. Aria pulled out her phone. Her thumb hovered over the Mayo Clinic billing portal. 11 days. $73,000. Then she took a screenshot of Brooks Sterling's fertility consultation and saved it to her encrypted personal drive. She didn't know what she was going to do with it yet. Didn't know if she had the courage to get involved in something this dangerous, this far above her pay grade. But she knew one thing tomorrow, when those official results came back. Someone in that family was going to be destroyed by a lie. And maybe, just maybe, Aria Vance was the only person in the world with the power to stop it. Her phone buzzed again. This time she opened it. Final notice, payment due in 11 days, or surgery cancellation will be processed. Aria closed her eyes and made a decision that would change everything. Aria didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table in her studio apartment in Dorchester, the screenshot glowing on her laptop screen like evidence of a crime she hadn't committed yet. Outside, sirens wailed. A couple argued in Spanish 3 floors up. Normal sounds. Her normal life. Except nothing about this was normal. At 6:47 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number, Nurse Vance. The voice was male-controlled, but she could hear the fracture underneath. This is Brooks Sterling. I need to speak with you. In person. Today. Her mouth went dry. Mr. Sterling, I'm not sure. Please. The word cracked. I know what you saw in my file. Security flagged your access at 11:34 p.m. I've been awake ever since. Aria's heart stopped. She'd been so careful with the encryption, but she'd forgotten about the basic access logs. Stupid. So incredibly stupid. I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want to meet. There's a coffee shop on Warren Street. Violets. 1 hour. He hung up before she could refuse. Aria stared at her reflection in the darkened laptop screen. She should run. Should delete everything and pretend she never saw those files. But she thought of her mother's voice on the phone yesterday, trying so hard to sound strong while talking about casket preferences. Just in case. She got dressed and went to meet the devil. Violet's was the kind of place where nobody looked at anyone too closely. Aria ordered black coffee she couldn't afford and sat in the back corner. Brooks Sterling walked in exactly 60 minutes after his call, wearing jeans and a wrinkled button down instead of his usual suit. He looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. He sat down across from her without asking permission. Up close, she could see the red in his eyes, the coffee stain on his collar. This wasn't the polished hair she'd seen in the hospital. This was a man coming apart. "You know," he said quietly, "about me. I shouldn't have accessed your file. That was wrong. I'll accept whatever disciplinary action. I don't care about that." He leaned forward. "I care about what happens at 3 p.m. today, when my mother gets the official results." Arya wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "The results will show your wife has diminished ovarian reserve, early ovarian failure. She'll be labeled infertile. And my results were never ordered. Your mother only requested testing for Clementine." Brooks laughed, but there was no humor in it. Of course she did, because in Vivienne Sterling's world, the fault could never lie with her perfect son. He rubbed his face. "She'll destroy Clementine. Not just divorce. She'll make sure Clementine never works in this city again. She'll drag her name through every social circle. My mother doesn't just win. She obliterates." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I saw your face yesterday, when my wife grabbed your hand." His eyes met hers, and they were the saddest eyes Arya had ever seen. "You wanted to help. I could see it. And I'm desperate enough to ask why." Arya shouldn't answer. Should walk away right now. But instead she heard herself say, "Because your mother reminded me of insurance adjusters who keep denying my mother's cancer treatment. People who hold all the power and use it like a weapon." Brooks went very still. "Your mother is sick. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer. She has 11 days before Mayo Clinic gives her surgery slot to someone else. $73,000 I don't have." Arya looked away. "So I understand what it's like to watch someone you love be destroyed by things outside your control." The silence stretched between them. Outside, a bus hissed to a stop. A child laughed. Life going on like the world wasn't ending for both of them. "I can't change the results," Arya finally said. "Even if I wanted to. The lab is independent. Multiple people verify the data. And even if I could, it wouldn't change the truth. Your wife can't have children. Neither can you. Your mother will find out eventually." "I know." Brooks' voice was barely audible. "But I need time. Time to protect Clementine. To move assets into her name that my mother can't touch. To find a way to give my mother what she wants without destroying my marriage." "What does she want?" "And Heir." He said it like a curse. "The Sterling legacy, the name continuing. That's all that matters to her. Not love. Not happiness. Just the bloodline. There are other options. Adoption. Surrogacy. Do you think my mother would accept anything less than a biological Sterling?" Brooks laughed bitterly. "She had my father's entire medical history, traced back 6 generations before she agreed to marry him. She views genes like stock portfolios." Arya started to stand. "I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. I really am. But I can't help you. I won't risk my license for something impossible." "What if it wasn't impossible?" She froze. Brooks pulled out a folder. Inside were legal documents. Medical forms, financial statements. "I've spent all night researching. There's a legal framework in Massachusetts for gestational surrogacy with genetic donation. Private. Confidential. The child would be biologically mine, legally mine, but carried by someone else. Your wife would have to agree. She already knows she can't carry a child. We've known for 6 months. We just haven't told my mother. His hands trembled as he spread the papers across the table. What we need is someone willing to be a gestational carrier. Someone my mother doesn't know. Someone who could stay hidden until after the birth. Arya's coffee turned to acid in her stomach. You're asking me to have your baby. I'm asking you to save my wife's life. And maybe save your mother's life in the process. He slid a piece of paper across the table. A check. Already signed. Made out to Mayo Clinic on behalf of Arya's mother. For $73,000. This is insane. Arya whispered. This is desperate. Brooks' voice broke. I love my wife, Nurse Vance. I love her more than my mother's empire, or my family name, or any of it. And I'm watching her die slowly knowing she'll be blamed for something that's my fault. My genetic failure. Not hers. She'll hate me. She'll think she knows. Brooks pulled out his phone and played a video. It was shaky, clearly recorded this morning. Clementine sat on their bed, mascara streaked down her face. If you're watching this, Clementine said to the camera, it means Brooks found someone willing to help us. To the woman who saves my marriage, my life, my dignity, I will never be able to repay you. I know what Brooks is asking is impossible, is unfair. But please, please consider it. Not for the money, for the chance to prove that good people still exist in this world. The video ended. Arya sat frozen. I need an answer in 6 hours, Brooks said quietly, before the results are released. If you say yes, we have a lawyer standing by. We'll create an airtight contract. Your mother gets her surgery. You get compensation beyond the medical costs. And when it's done, you walk away. No strings. No obligations. You give us 9 months, and we give you your mother's life. He stood up, put on sunglasses even though it was overcast outside. I'll be at the hospital at 2 p.m. If you're there, we move forward. If not, I'll understand. And I'll make sure your file access is expunged from the records. You'll face no consequences either way. Arya watched him walk out. The check sat on the table between the cold coffee cups like a coiled snake. $73,000. Her mother's life. But at what cost? She picked up her phone. Her mother answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. Baby girl, you sound stressed. What's wrong? Arya closed her eyes. Her mother had always known. Even across phone lines and hospital rooms, and all the lies Arya told to keep her from worrying. Mama, if you had to make an impossible choice to save someone you loved, would you do it? The pause was long. Then her mother's voice came back, soft and sure. Baby, I worked 3 jobs and slept 4 hours a night for 18 years to get you through school. I'd have worked 6 jobs if I could. Love isn't about easy choices. It's about showing up when everything's hard, even if people judged you for it. People always gonna judge. Question is whether you can live with yourself after. Can you? Arya looked at the check, thought of Clementine's desperate eyes, Brooks' broken voice, the casual cruelty of a woman who valued bloodlines over human beings. I don't know yet, Mama. Then you keep thinking until you do know. But remember, you got a good heart. Whatever it tells you, I trust it. They said goodbye. Arya sat alone in the coffee shop for 2 more hours, the check growing heavier with each passing minute. At 1:47 p.m., she walked into Beacon Hill General Hospital. Her hands were steady. Her decision was made. Brooks Sterling stood by the fourth-floor elevator, trying to look casual and failing completely. When he saw her, his whole body sagged with relief. "You came." "I have conditions," Arya said. "Your wife meets with me first, alone. I need to hear from her own mouth that this is what she wants. And we do this my way. No lying to hospital staff. No forged records. Everything legal. Everything documented. I won't risk my career on deception." "Agreed." "Anything else?" "Yeah." Arya looked him dead in the eye. "When this is over, when your mother finds out the truth, because she will eventually, you don't hide behind lawyers or money. You stand up to her. For your wife. For your child. For doing the right thing even when it costs you everything." Brooks held out his hand. "I swear it." They shook. His palm was sweating. So was hers. Neither of them knew that 3 floors below, Dr. Silas Thorne was already on the phone with Vivienne Sterling, offering her something far more dangerous than the truth. He was offering her exactly what she wanted to hear. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and new money. Arya sat across from Clementine Sterling in a room with windows that overlooked Boston Harbor. Between them sat a woman named Margaret Chen, the kind of attorney who charged $1,000 an hour and earned every penny. Brooks had excused himself. "You two need to talk without me in the room," he'd said, and Arya respected him for that at least. Clementine twisted her wedding ring around her finger. Up close, without the weight of Vivienne's presence, she looked younger, fragile, like a porcelain doll someone had cracked and glued back together imperfectly. "I know what you must think of me," Clementine said finally. Rich woman. Too weak to stand up to her mother-in-law. Too desperate to have dignity. "I'd think that," Arya said honestly. "I think you're trapped." "I am." Clementine's voice was barely a whisper. "I've been trapped since the day I married into this family. Vivienne made that clear from the beginning. I wasn't Brooks' wife. I was the vessel for the next generation of Sterlings. When the doctors told me about my condition 6 months ago, I knew my marriage had an expiration date. Does Brooks know?" "That you've known for 6 months?" "Of course. We've been trying to figure out a solution. Adoption. Donor eggs. Surrogacy. But Vivienne has spies everywhere. Our own family doctor reports to her." Clementine finally met Arya's eyes. "I know this is wrong. Asking you to carry our child. Putting this burden on you. But I'm out of options and out of time." Margaret Chen cleared her throat. "Before we proceed, I need to ensure both parties understand the legal framework. Ms. Vance, you would be entering a gestational surrogacy agreement. You would carry a child created from Mr. Sterling's sperm and a donor egg." "Wait." Arya held up her hand. "Donor egg. I thought." "Why can't use my eggs?" Clementine said quietly. "They're not viable. That's what the tests would show. But we can't use yours either, because then the child wouldn't be legally mine under Massachusetts surrogacy law. We need a donor. Anonymous." Screened, Arya's head spun. This was getting more complicated by the second. "So I'm just the carrier. Nothing genetic." "You would be giving us 9 months of your life," Clementine said. "Your health, your privacy, your safety. That's not nothing. That's everything." Margaret slid a contract across the table. The compensation package includes full medical coverage, a stipend of $15,000 per month during pregnancy, a completion bonus of $100,000, and the immediate payment of $73,000 to Mayo Clinic for your mother's treatment. Additionally, Mr. Sterling will establish a trust in your name for $250,000, accessible after delivery. Arya's hands trembled as she looked at the numbers. Nearly $400,000 total. More money than she'd see in 5 years of nursing. Maybe 10. "This is too much," she whispered. "It's not enough," Clementine said fiercely. "Nothing could be enough for what we're asking. You'll have to hide the pregnancy. Lie to your coworkers. Risk your reputation. And if Vivienne finds out before the birth," she stopped, swallowed hard. "She'll destroy all of us. Especially you." "Why me?" "Why not hire a professional surrogate?" "Because Vivienne monitors our finances like a hawk. Any large payment to a surrogacy agency would trigger alerts. But a medical payment to Mayo Clinic, that looks like charity. The monthly stipend can be routed through a shell company as consulting fees." Margaret's voice was clinical, but not unkind. "And frankly, Miss Vance, you need us as much as we need you. That makes this a partnership, not a transaction." Arya wanted to be offended, wanted to walk out. But the woman was right. She did need them, desperately. "I need to think more of 30 minutes." Margaret checked her watch. At 3 p.m., the fertility results will be officially released. Mrs. Sterling will be declared infertile. Vivienne Sterling will begin divorce proceedings by 5 p.m. Our sources have confirmed she's already drafted the paperwork. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. Clementine reached across the table and took Arya's hands. Her fingers were ice cold. "I know we're strangers. I know you have no reason to trust us. But I'm begging you. Not as a rich woman asking for a favor. As one woman to another, who understands what it's like to be powerless." Arya looked into those desperate blue eyes and saw her own reflection. Two women from different worlds, both drowning in different ways. "If I do this," Arya said slowly, "I have conditions beyond the contract. I want honesty. No more secrets between us. If something goes wrong, if your mother finds out, if any of this falls apart, we face it together. No one gets thrown under the bus to save someone else." "Agreed," Clementine said immediately. "And after the baby is born, I walk away. Completely. I don't want birthday cards or Christmas photos or updates. I can't be part of this child's life. That would destroy me." "Understood." Clementine's voice cracked. "Though I hope someday you'll let me thank you properly." Arya picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line. This was insane, reckless, potentially career-ending. But her mother would live. That's what mattered. Her mother would live. She signed. 2, 3 floors below in the hospital's administrative wing, Dr. Silas Thorne sat in his private office with the door locked. On his computer screen were Clementine Sterling's fertility results. On his phone was Vivienne Sterling's number. He'd been the Sterling family physician for 12 years. He'd delivered Brooks. He'd treated Vivienne's late husband through his final illness. He knew where every body was buried, literal and metaphorical. And he knew exactly how much Vivienne would pay to get the results she wanted. "The tests are conclusive," he said when she answered. "Clementine is infertile. Early ovarian failure. No chance of natural conception." Send me everything. Vivienne's voice was sharp with satisfaction. I want every page of that report. There's something else. Silas pulled up Brooks' file, the one he'd carefully kept from Vivienne's previous investigations. I ran some additional tests. Routine screening. It appears Brooks has some minor hormonal irregularities. Nothing serious, but you might want to have him seen by a specialist. What kind of irregularities? Testosterone levels slightly below normal range. Could affect his fertility as well. But it's treatable. Completely manageable with medication. The lie slid out smooth as silk. He'd been practicing it for hours. Are you saying my son might also have fertility issues? Vivienne's voice dropped to dangerous levels. I'm saying it's inconclusive. We'd need more testing. But the important thing is that Clementine's results are definitive. The problem is clearly on her side. He could hear Vivienne breathing on the other end of the line. Calculating. Planning. Dr. Thorne, I want you to lose those additional tests on Brooks. Immediately. They don't exist. Do you understand? Mrs. Sterling, I can't just delete medical records. You can, and you will. Or perhaps the medical board would be interested to know about your creative prescribing practices for certain clients who enjoy recreational pharmaceuticals. Silas's blood ran cold. She knew. Of course she knew. Vivienne Sterling knew everything. The records will be deleted within the hour, he said. Good. And Silas. I'll need you to testify if this goes to court. About Clementine's deception. How she hid her condition. How she trapped my son in a fraudulent marriage. But she didn't. She did. And you'll confirm it. Or we'll have problems. Are we clear? The line went dead. Silas sat in the silence, staring at his computer screen. He'd been treating Brooks since the young man was 8 years old. He'd watched him grow up. Had been there for every skinned knee, every flu, every moment of that boy's life. And now he was being asked to destroy him. His finger hovered over the delete button on Brooks' fertility records. Those tests showed severe oligospermia, genetic markers for progressive testicular failure. Brooks Sterling would likely be completely sterile within 5 years. But if Vivienne found out, she'd blame Clementine anyway. She'd find a way to make it the wife's fault. That's what people like Vivienne did. They bent reality to match their narratives. Silas deleted the files. Then he deleted the backup. Then he cleared the access logs. When he was done, Brooks Sterling's fertility problems had never existed. He told himself he was protecting the family, preventing unnecessary pain. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was a coward, and his cowardice was about to set off a chain of events that would destroy lives. 2. In the lawyer's office, Aria's signature was barely dry when Margaret's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went pale. What? Brooks stood up immediately. What happened? The results were released early. Someone leaked them. Margaret turned her laptop around. On the screen was a medical document. Clementine's fertility panel, stamped with bright red letters, Kanafendil, Petiayan Inafatieli. That's not possible, Brooks said. Those were supposed to be sealed until... Your mother has connections in every department. Clementine's voice was eerily calm. She probably paid someone to rush them, or maybe our family doctor did it for her. Dr. Thorne. Aria frowned. He seemed professional when I met him. Silas Thorne has been in my mother. In Law's pocket since before I married Brooks. Clementine stood up, smoothing her dress. He's the one who's been monitoring my fertility treatments, reporting back to Vivienne every month. I should have known he'd do this. Brooks was already on his phone. I'm calling him right now. Clementine put her hand over his. It doesn't matter anymore. The results are out. Vivienne knows. We need to move forward with the plan. But we just signed the contract 10 minutes ago, Arya said. The egg retrieval hasn't even happened yet. The embryo transfer is weeks away. How do we explain a pregnancy that doesn't exist? Margaret was already typing. Why buy time? I'll file an emergency injunction preventing Mrs. Vivienne Sterling from taking any action based on medical records obtained through illegal means. That'll give us a few days, maybe a week if we're lucky. And then what? Arya's voice rose. Eventually, someone's going to notice I'm not pregnant. You can't fake 9 months. We don't need 9 months. Clementine's eyes were hard now. Determined. We need 6 weeks. Enough time to do the embryo transfer and confirm pregnancy. Once there's a verified pregnancy, with genetic testing showing Brooks as the father, Vivienne will have to back down. An heir is an heir, unless she finds out the baby isn't biologically yours, Arya said. She won't. We'll make sure of it. But even as Clementine said it, Arya saw the fear in her eyes. They were all terrified, all in too deep, all praying that a man named Dr. Silas Thorne wouldn't destroy them before they had a chance to save themselves. What none of them knew was that Dr. Thorne was just finishing his 3rd phone call of the day. This one to a private investigator. I need deep background on a nurse at Beacon Hill General, he said quietly. Arya Vance. Everything. Family, finances, medical history, weaknesses. I need it yesterday. Because Vivienne Sterling had given him one more assignment. Find out who was helping Brooks and Clementine hide something. She could smell deception, like a shark smelled blood. And Dr. Silas Thorne knew better than to fail Vivienne Sterling twice. The trap was being set. Arya had just walked into the center of it. And time was running out. The fertility clinic was in Cambridge, far enough from Beacon Hill that no one from Vivienne's social circle would accidentally see them. Arya sat in the waiting room, holding a clipboard full of medical forms, her leg bouncing with anxiety. Across from her, a couple in their 40s held hands and whispered encouragement to each other. Normal people doing this for normal reasons. She was doing it to outsmart a billionaire and save her mother's life. Brooks had stayed behind to run interference with his mother. Margaret had filed the injunction that morning. Vivienne's lawyers were fighting it, but it bought them 72 hours. Clementine sat beside Arya, wearing oversized sunglasses and a baseball cap like a celebrity, trying to go incognito. This is the strangest day of my life, Arya muttered. Just wait, Clementine said. It gets stranger. A nurse called them back. The reproductive endocrinologist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, was a tiny woman with sharp eyes and an efficiency that made Arya feel instantly comfortable. She didn't ask questions about why a black nurse was carrying a baby for a white couple. She just laid out the facts. We have 5 embryos from the donor egg and Mr. Sterling's sperm, all genetically tested, all viable. I recommend transferring 2 to increase chances of success. Dr. Tanaka looked at Arya over her glasses. Your medical history is excellent. You're young, healthy, no previous pregnancies, but no indicators of infertility. Success rate for someone your age is approximately 65% per transfer cycle. And if it doesn't work the first time, Arya asked, we try again. But let's be optimistic. Dr. Tanaka smiled. Your hormone levels are perfect. You respond well to fertility medications. I've seen worse odds succeed beautifully. The embryo transfer itself took 20 minutes. Arya lay on the exam table, staring at the ceiling tiles while a doctor she'd met an hour ago placed 2 microscopic clusters of cells into her uterus. Cells that were half Brooks Sterling, half an anonymous egg donor who'd been paid $20,000 and would never know what came of her contribution. All done, Dr. Tanaka said. Rest here for 30 minutes. Then you're free to go. No heavy lifting for 48 hours. The pregnancy test is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks to find out if her life was about to change forever. Clementine drove her home in a black Mercedes with tinted windows. They didn't talk much. What was there to say? They'd crossed a line together that couldn't be uncrossed. The Mayo Clinic called. Clementine said, as she pulled up to Arya's apartment building, your mother's surgery is scheduled for next week. They're flying in their best pancreatic specialist from Rochester. Arya's throat closed up. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. Clementine turned to look at her. Arya, I need you to know something. If this goes wrong, if Vivienne finds out, if the pregnancy doesn't happen, if any of this falls apart, I'll protect you. I'll make sure you and your mother are taken care of. You have my word. Your word won't mean much if your mother-in-law destroys you. But it's all I have to give. Arya got out of the car and watched the Mercedes disappear into Boston traffic. Then she climbed 3 flights to her apartment, lay down on her couch, and tried not to think about the fact that she might be pregnant with a stranger's baby. Her phone rang. Her mother. Baby girl, the hospital just called. They said my surgery's scheduled. They said everything's paid for. Her mother's voice broke. Arya, what did you do? I got a bonus, Mama. A big one. For working extra shifts during the nursing shortage. The lie tasted like ash. She'd never lied to her mother before, not about anything important. That's a lot of extra shifts. It was a lot of extra work. The pause stretched. Then her mother said quietly, as long as you're safe, baby. As long as you're okay. I'm okay, Mama. I promise. Another lie. She was so far from okay, she couldn't even see it from here. Across town in Beacon Hill, Dr. Silas Thorne sat in his home office, reviewing a file that had cost him $5,000. The private investigator had been thorough. Arya Vance, 28 years old. Oncology nurse for 4 years. Excellent employment record. No criminal history. No debt beyond student loans and her mother's medical bills. No romantic entanglements. No social media presence beyond a dormant Facebook account. She was clean. Too clean. The only irregularity was a $73,000 payment from a shell company called Sterling Medical, consulting to Mayo Clinic 3 days ago. The same day the fertility results were released. The same day Arya Vance had accessed Brooks Sterling's medical records. Silas picked up his phone. Vivienne answered on the first ring. Tell me you have something, she said. I have a name. Arya Vance. She's an oncology nurse at the hospital. She accessed Brooks' files the night before the results were released. And someone, likely Brooks or Clementine, just paid for her mother's cancer surgery using a shell company. Buying her silence, Vivian said coldly. Or buying her cooperation. Send me everything you have on her. What are you going to do? What I always do, Silas. I'm going to find the weakness and exploit it. The line went dead. Silas sat in the silence, the file on Arya Vance heavy in his hands. He thought about calling Brooks, warning him. But what would he say? That he'd been spying on them for Vivian. That he'd already sold them out. Some betrayals couldn't be undone. He'd made his choice. Now he had to live with it. 1 week later, Heir was doing a routine medication check on the 7th floor when she felt the first cramp. Sharp, low in her abdomen. She froze in the middle of the hallway, one hand pressed to her stomach. Please no. Not yet. Too early to know. The cramping passed. She finished her shift, went home, and stared at the calendar. 7 days until the pregnancy test. 7 days of not knowing if the embryo transfer had worked. If she was pregnant. If any of this insane plan had a chance. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to meet. Urgent. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Violet's coffee. Come alone, B. Brooks. Something had happened. She didn't sleep that night at 7:45 a.m. She was already at Violet's, nursing her second cup of black coffee when Brooks walked in. He looked worse than before. Haunted. My mother knows, he said without preamble. She doesn't have proof yet, but she knows something's going on. She's hired a private investigator. She's monitoring my bank accounts, my phone, everything. Arya's blood turned to ice. How much does she know? She knows about the payment to Mayo Clinic. She knows your name. She knows you accessed my medical files. Brooks ran his hands through his hair. She's going to come after you, Arya. Not directly. That's not how she works. She'll dig into your life. Look for leverage. For anything she can use to discredit you or force you to talk. I haven't done anything illegal. It doesn't matter. She'll make it look illegal. She'll destroy your nursing license, your reputation, your mother's treatment, unless we move first. Move first how? Brooks pulled out a folder. Inside were plane tickets. How would you feel about spending the next 8 months in Maine? Arya stared at him. You're joking. I own a property in Bar Harbor. Remote. Private. Nobody knows about it. I bought it under a corporate shell before I married Clementine. My mother has no idea it exists. Brooks spread the documents on the table. You could live there, in comfort. We'd set up telemedicine for your prenatal care. You'd have everything you need. And when the baby comes, you come back. We present the heir to my mother as a fait accompli. You want me to disappear for 8 months. I want you to be safe. If you stay in Boston, my mother will find a way to get to you. To your mother. To everyone you care about. Brooks leaned forward. I know it's asking a lot. I know it's not what you signed up for. But it's the only way to protect all of us. Arya thought of her studio apartment, her coworkers, her mother recovering at home after surgery. Everything familiar she'd have to leave behind. What about my job? You'd take a medical leave. We'd make it legitimate. Stress-related. Your supervisor would understand. You've been working yourself to death taking care of your mother. And after? When I come back pregnant with no explanation, you tell them it happened during your leave. A brief relationship that didn't work out. The father isn't in the picture. It's not uncommon. It was insane, all of it. But as Arya looked at Brooks' desperate face, she realized he was right. Vivienne Sterling wouldn't stop. She'd dig and dig until she found something to use. And Arya's mother, still recovering from surgery, still fragile, she was the perfect leverage. I need to think. You have 24 hours. That's how long the investigator needs to build a full profile on you. After that, my mother will have everything. Every vulnerability, every pressure point. Brooks stood up. I'm sorry, Arya. I know we keep asking more and more of you. But I don't know what else to do. He left her sitting there, the plane tickets on the table, like an escape route or a trap. She couldn't tell which. That afternoon, Arya went to visit her mother at the recovery center. The surgery had gone well. The cancer was in retreat. Her mother looked better than she had in months, color returning to her cheeks, light in her eyes. You've been quiet, baby girl, her mother said, holding Arya's hand. Something weighing on you? Arya wanted to tell her everything. The surrogacy, the threats, the impossible choices that kept piling up. But her mother was healing, finally healing. She couldn't burden her with this. Just tired, Mama. Been a long few weeks. Her mother studied her with those all-knowing eyes. You remember what I told you when you were little, about the difference between running away and running toward something. You said running away is fear, running toward is faith. That's right. Her mother squeezed her hand. So whatever decision you're facing, ask yourself, what are you running toward? If it's something good, something that matters, then don't let fear stop you. Arya kissed her mother's forehead and left before the tears could come. That night, she packed a single suitcase. In the morning, she texted Brooks a single word, yes. 3 days later, Arya Vance disappeared from Boston. Her co-workers were told she'd taken an extended leave for family reasons. Her apartment sat empty. Her mother thought she was on a nursing contract in Portland, and in a house overlooking the rocky coast of Maine. Arya waited for her pregnancy test, while Vivienne Sterling's investigator reported back that the trail had gone cold. But trails never stay cold forever. And secrets buried in small towns have a way of surfacing, especially when the person digging has unlimited resources and no conscience. Dr. Silas Thorne made his final call to Vivienne from his locked office. I found something, he said. A fertility clinic in Cambridge. Brooks was there 2 weeks ago. I pulled some favors. They did an embryo transfer. But here's the interesting part. The patient wasn't Clementine. Who was it? The records are sealed. But I have a source who saw them leave together. Brooks Sterling and Arya Vance. The nurse. The silence on the other end of the line was more terrifying than screaming. Find her, Vivienne finally said. I don't care what it costs. Find that nurse. Find out what they're hiding. And bring me proof I can use. The house in Bar Harbor sat perched on a cliff like a secret waiting to be discovered. Arya stood at the floor, stood sealing windows, watching the Atlantic Ocean crash against the rocks below. Behind her, the house stretched out in uncomfortable luxury. Granite countertops, heated floors, a bathtub the size of her entire Boston bathroom. It felt like a prison made of marble and good intentions. Her phone buzzed. A text from the local clinic where she'd had her blood drawn that morning. Congratulations. HCG levels confirm pregnancy. Estimated 4 weeks. Schedule follow-up in 2 weeks. She was pregnant. Arya sank onto the leather couch, her hand automatically moving to her still, flat stomach. Inside her, cells were dividing. A heart would start beating in a few weeks. A person was being created from a transaction. A desperate bargain. A lie built on top of other lies. She called Clementine. They'd agreed to use encrypted apps. Burner phones, nothing traceable. The paranoia had become routine. It worked. Arya said when Clementine answered, "I'm pregnant." The sound that came through the phone was half sob, half laugh. "Oh, God."
Oh, thank God.
Are you okay?
"I don't know." Clementine's voice was shaking. "I should be happy. This is what we wanted. But all I can think about is that you're carrying my baby and I'm not. You'll feel the first kick. The first hiccup. All the moments I'll never have." Arya's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. You're giving me everything. I'm grieving something I never had. Does that make sense?"
Yeah.
It does. They sat in silence. Two women connected by a secret growing in one of their bodies, separated by 200 miles and a lifetime of circumstances. "Vivienne is getting worse," Clementine finally said. "She's convinced Brooks is hiding something. She's cut off half his trust fund. She's demanding he fire Silas Thorne for incompetence because the fertility tests didn't show her what she wanted. She's spinning out of control." What does Brooks say? He's trying to manage her, keep her focused on the business. But she's obsessed with finding proof that I trapped him, that I knew about my infertility and hid it. She won't let it go. Arya walked to the window, watching seagulls circle in the grey sky. "How long can we keep this up?" 7 more months. Then we come back with a baby and genetic proof that Brooks is the father. She'll have to accept it. Will she, though? Or will she just dig deeper until she finds the truth? Clementine didn't answer, because they both knew the answer. In Boston, Dr. Silas Thorne sat across from Vivienne Sterling in her Beacon Hill townhouse. The room was all dark wood and oil paintings of dead relatives. It smelled like money and mothballs. "I've traced the payments," Silas said, sliding a folder across the mahogany desk. "Brooks created a shell company 3 months ago. Sterling Medical Consulting. It's been making regular deposits to an account in Arya Vance's name. 15,000 a month. For what purpose? The official paperwork says medical consulting services. But Arya Vance is an oncology nurse, not a consultant. And 15,000 a month is far above standard consulting rates." Vivienne opened the folder, her manicured nails clicking against the paper. Where is she now? That's the problem. She disappeared 2 weeks ago. Took a medical leave from the hospital. Her apartment is empty. Her mother thinks she's on a nursing contract in Portland. But I checked. No hospitals in Portland have any record of hiring her. So she's hiding, or being hidden. Silas pulled out another document. "I found the fertility clinic. They won't give me records without a warrant. But I have a source who confirmed an embryo transfer was performed on Arya Vance using Brooks' genetic material and a donor egg." Vivienne went very still. The kind of still that meant her mind was racing, connecting dots, building cases. "They're using her as a surrogate." "It appears so. Because Clementine can't carry a child. So they found someone who could. Someone desperate enough to hide. Someone they could pay to disappear. Vivienne's voice was ice over steel. Clever. Almost clever enough. What do you want me to do? I want you to find her. She's pregnant with my grandchild. She's leverage. Once I have her location, I have everything. Vivienne stood up, walking to the window that overlooked her perfectly manicured garden. Brooks thinks he can outmaneuver me. He forgets that I built this empire from nothing. I've destroyed bigger threats than a lovesick boy and his barren wife. Silas felt something twist in his chest. He'd known Brooks since the boy was 8. Had watched him grow into a kind, decent man despite his mother's best efforts. And now he was helping destroy him. Mrs. Sterling, perhaps we should consider? Consider what? Letting them win? Letting some nobody nurse carry the Sterling Heir like she's renting out her womb. Vivienne's eyes were hard as diamonds. No. This family has standards, has legacy. I won't have it tainted by desperation and deception. The child would still be Brooks' biological son or daughter. Carried by a woman who sold herself for money. Raised by a woman who can't fulfill her basic biological function. Vivienne turned back to him. Find the nurse, Silas. I don't care what it costs. Find her and I'll handle the rest. 6 weeks into the pregnancy, Aria started showing. Just a small bump, barely noticeable under loose clothing, but undeniable when she looked at herself naked in the mirror. She pressed her hand against it, feeling the slight swell. In there, she whispered. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to you. I don't know if I should talk to you at all. You're not mine to keep, but you're mine to protect. For now, her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Aria Vance. The voice was male professional unfamiliar.
Who is this?
My name is James Chen. I'm an attorney representing Vivienne Sterling. I'd like to discuss a matter of mutual interest. Aria's blood went cold. I have nothing to discuss with you. I think you do. We know about the surrogacy arrangement. We know you're carrying Brooks Sterling's child. We know you're being paid to hide during the pregnancy. His voice was calm, matter of fact. Mrs. Sterling would like to make you a better offer. I'm not interested. $1 million. Cash. In exchange for terminating the pregnancy and signing a non-disclosure agreement. Aria's hand tightened on the phone. You're asking me to get an abortion. We're offering you a way out of a complicated situation. You're young. You have your whole life ahead of you. Is 9 months of your life worth destroying your career, your reputation, your future? Because that's what will happen when this comes to light. The press will destroy you. They'll call you a homewrecker, a gold digger. They'll make your life hell. How did you get this number? Mrs. Sterling has resources, connections. It would be wise not to underestimate her. He paused. You have 48 hours to consider the offer. After that, things get much more difficult for everyone involved. The line went dead. Aria sat on the bathroom floor, shaking. She called Brooks immediately. They found me, she said when he answered. Your mother's lawyer just called. He offered me $1 million to terminate the pregnancy. The silence on the other end was deafening. Brooks, are you there? I'm here. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I thought we had more time. I thought you'd be safe there. How did she find me? I don't know. Phone records, maybe. Credit card trails. My mother has investigators' lawyers. People who do nothing but dig up dirt for a living. He took a shaky breath. What did you tell them? I hung up. But Brooks, they're threatening me. They said they'll destroy my reputation, make the press. They won't. I won't let them. But Arya, listen to me very carefully. Do not engage with them. Don't answer calls from numbers you don't know. Don't go anywhere alone. I'm sending private security to Bar Harbor tonight. Security. Brooks, this is insane. My mother is insane. And she's desperate. That makes her dangerous. His voice hardened. I should have anticipated this. Should have protected you better. What are we going to do? We're going to fight. And we're going to win. Because the alternative is unthinkable. After he hung up, Arya sat in the silence of the two, big house, one hand on her growing stomach. Somewhere in Boston, a woman with unlimited resources and no conscience was planning her next move. And Arya was alone in Maine with a secret that was getting harder to hide every day. The security team arrived that night. Two former Marines, named Marcus and Jennifer, who moved into the guest house and started doing perimeter checks like Arya was a foreign dignitary instead of a pregnant nurse hiding from a billionaire. This is ridiculous, Arya said when Jennifer explained the new protocols. I'm not in witness protection. No, Mom. You're in something potentially more dangerous. A woman with Mrs. Sterling's resources can make people disappear if she wants. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen. That night, Arya couldn't sleep. She stood at the window watching the ocean, wondering how her life had gone from simple to surreal in the space of 2 months. She thought about her mother, recovering in Boston, still believing Arya was on a nursing contract. She thought about Clementine, waiting in desperation for a baby she'd never carry. She thought about Brooks, caught between the family he was born into and the family he was trying to create. And she thought about the life growing inside her. Person who didn't ask to be part of this mess, who deserved better than to be born from lies and legal contracts. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Last chance, Miss Vance. Take the money, walk away, or face the consequences. Then a photo. Her mother, walking into the recovery center in Boston. Someone had been following her, watching her. The message was clear. Vivienne Sterling could get to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Arya's hands shook as she forwarded the text to Brooks. Then she checked every lock on every door and window. Marcus and Jennifer were outside, but suddenly that didn't feel like enough, because Vivienne Sterling wasn't just threatening Arya anymore. She was threatening the one person Arya would do anything to protect. And that changed everything. In Boston, Vivienne Sterling sat in her study, reviewing the private investigator's latest report. She had the location. She had the leverage. Now she just needed the right moment to strike. Dr. Thorne, she said into her phone, I need you to make a house call to Bar Harbor tomorrow and bring everything you need to perform a medical examination. I want proof that nurse is pregnant. Documented proof I can use in court. Mrs. Sterling, I can't force someone to submit to an examination. You can if they believe it's in their best interest. Or their mother's best interest. Her smile was cold. Use your imagination, Silas. That's what I pay you for. She hung up and poured herself a scotch. Tomorrow, the game would change. Tomorrow, she'd have all the ammunition She needed to destroy this ridiculous scheme and remind her son that in the Sterling family, she always won. Always. Arya woke to the sound of someone pounding on the door. The sun was barely up, casting grey light across the main coast. She pulled on a robe, her heart hammering as Marcus's voice came through the security system. Ms. Vance, stay inside. We have an unauthorized vehicle approaching. Through the window, she watched a Blacktown car wind up the gravel driveway. It stopped in front of the house and docked at her. Silas Thorne stepped out, carrying a medical bag. Arya's stomach dropped. She grabbed her phone and called Brooks. "He's here," she said when he answered. "Dr. Thorne. At the house. Right now. Don't let him in. Don't open the door. I'm calling our lawyer, Ms. Vance." Silas's voice came through the intercom system. "I need to speak with you. It's about your mother." Arya froze. "What about my mother?" "Please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Marcus appeared at her side, weapon visible on his hip. Say the word, and he's gone. But Arya's mind was spinning. Your mother. He'd said it specifically, deliberately. She looked at Marcus. Stay close. But let him in. Marcus's jaw tightened, but he nodded. 2 minutes later, Silas Thorne sat in the living room, his medical bag at his feet. He looked older than Arya remembered. Tired, like he hadn't slept in days. "You have 3 minutes," Arya said, standing with her arms crossed. "Then my security removes you." "Your mother had a follow-up scan yesterday," Silas said quietly. "At the recovery center. Standard post, surgical imaging to check for any complications." Arya's breath caught. "And the scans show something. A shadow on her liver. It could be nothing. Scar tissue. Post-surgical inflammation. Or it could be metastasis." He met her eyes. "She needs a biopsy. Immediately. But her insurance is dragging their feet on approval. They're saying it's not medically necessary yet, that they want to wait and see." "That's a lie. My mother's treatment is fully covered." Was fully covered. Until someone at the insurance company received an anonymous tip that the Mayo Clinic payment might have been obtained fraudulently. Now they're investigating. Everything's frozen pending their review. Arya felt the room tilt. Vivienne. Mrs. Sterling has connections everywhere. Insurance companies. Medical boards. She's not above using them. Silas opened his bag and pulled out a portable ultrasound machine. "I'm here to make you an offer. Let me confirm the pregnancy. Document it properly. Give Mrs. Sterling the medical proof she's demanding. In exchange, I'll personally ensure your mother gets the biopsy today. I'll call in favors. I'll pay for it myself if I have to. You want me to cooperate with the woman trying to destroy me, so she can have ammunition to use in court. I want you to save your mother's life." Silas's voice cracked. "Ms. Vance, I know what you think of me. I know I'm Vivienne's creature, that I've done terrible things to keep my position. But I'm also a doctor. And your mother is dying while we play these games. You don't know that the shadow is cancer, and we won't know until she gets the biopsy, which won't happen while her insurance is frozen." He stood up. "I'm not asking you to betray Brooks or Clementine. I'm asking you to let me do one decent thing in the middle of this nightmare. Let me help your mother." Arya's phone buzzed. A text from her mother's case manager at the recovery center. "We need to talk about your mother's insurance situation. Please call ASAP." Her hands shook. She looked at Silas, at Marcus standing ready by the door, at the ultrasound machine that could either save her mother or destroy everything they'd built. "If I do this," she said slowly, "you give me your word, doctor to nurse, that my mother gets the biopsy today, that you'll make sure she's taken care of no matter what happens with Vivienne's investigation." "You have my word." "And the ultrasound results. What will you tell Vivienne?" "The truth. That you're approximately 8 weeks pregnant. That the fetus appears healthy. That's all." He paused. "I won't volunteer information about the surrogacy arrangement. I won't speculate about paternity, just the medical facts. It was a trap. Had to be." But Arya thought of her mother lying in that recovery center bed, a shadow on her liver, time running out while insurance adjusters played God. "Do it," she said. The ultrasound took 10 minutes. Silas was professional, clinical, but Arya saw his hand shake as he moved the wand across her stomach. On the screen, a tiny blob appeared, barely recognizable as human. But there was a flicker, a heartbeat. "There," Silas said quietly. "Fetal heart rate 142 beats per minute, consistent with 8 weeks gestation. Everything looks normal." Arya stared at the screen, transfixed. That was a person. A whole person growing inside her. Brooks and a stranger's genes combining to create something new. Something that would have Clementine love and Brooks protection and Arya's. What? Her body for 9 months. "I need to print these images," Silas said. "For the medical record." "Fine. But that's all you get. No other tests. No other information." He nodded and began packing up his equipment. At the door, he turned back. "For what it's worth, Miss Vance, I'm sorry for all of this. I've spent 12 years serving Vivienne Sterling, and I've watched her destroy good people for no reason other than they stood in her way. Brooks is a good man. He deserves better than her. Then why help her? Because I'm a coward." His smile was bitter. "And cowards always serve the person they fear most." He left. Arya immediately called the recovery center. They confirmed her mother's biopsy was scheduled for that afternoon. Rush processing. Doctor Thorne had already called ahead. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt dread. 2 hours later, Brooks called. His voice was tight with controlled fury. "My mother just sent me an email. Ultrasound images. Time stamped from this morning. At the Bar Harbor House." He took a shaky breath. "She knows everything, Arya. She knows you're pregnant. She knows the timeline. She's putting the pieces together." Silas promised. Silas is her dog. He promised you what you needed to hear, so you'd cooperate. And now she has medical documentation. Brooks' voice dropped. "She's filing a lawsuit. Against me, against Clementine. Against you. Fraud. Conspiracy. Unlawful surrogacy arrangement. She's demanding custody of the baby when it's born." Arya's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch. "She can't do that. The baby isn't even born yet. She can do whatever she wants. She has unlimited money and lawyers who specialize in making the impossible happen." He paused. "But there's more. She's not just suing. She's going to the press. She's planning to release a statement tomorrow about how her daughter-in-law tricked her son into marriage, how they're using a paid surrogate to defraud the family, how I'm unfit to inherit the Sterling Empire because I've been deceiving her. Brooks, she's going to destroy all of us, Arya. You, me, Clementine. She'll make sure your nursing license is revoked. She'll make sure Clementine is painted as a scheming gold digger. She'll make sure I'm disinherited. And she'll take that baby and raise it herself as the legitimate, sterling heir. Arya pressed her hand to her stomach. What do we do? The silence stretched out. Then Brooke said something she never expected. We tell the truth, before she can twist it. We go public first. We control the narrative. Are you insane? If we tell the truth, everyone will know about the surrogacy, the arrangement, everything. Everyone's going to know anyway, when my mother's lawsuit becomes public record. At least this way, we tell our story. We explain why we did it. We make people understand that this wasn't fraud. It was love. It was desperation. It was two people trying to save their family from a tyrant. They'll crucify us. Maybe. Or maybe people will understand. Maybe they'll see my mother for what she really is. His voice strengthened. I'm done hiding Arya. I'm done letting her control my life through fear. She wants a war. She's going to get one. But we fight it in the open. With the truth. Arya thought about her mother. Who'd taught her that doing the right thing mattered more than doing the easy thing? She thought about Clementine, who'd been brave enough to ask for help, even when it cost her everything. She thought about the baby inside her, who deserved to be born into truth instead of lies. Okay, she said. We tell the truth, but we do it together. All three of us, you, me, and Clementine, united front. Agreed. I'll call our PR team. We'll schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning, before my mother can release her statement. He paused. Arya, whatever happens next, I want you to know, you're the bravest person I've ever met, and I'm sorry I dragged you into this. I walked in with my eyes open. Now let's finish it. That night, Arya, Brooks, and Clementine sat on a video call, planning their statement. Clementine's face was pale but determined. We tell them about my infertility, she said. We explained that Brooks and I wanted a family, that we found someone willing to help us, that this was always about love, not deception. We don't mention the payment to Mayo Clinic, Brooks added. That muddies the water, makes it look transactional. But it was transactional, Arya said quietly. At least at first. I did this for my mother. For money. We can't pretend otherwise. Then we frame it honestly. Clementine said. Two families helping each other. You needed help saving your mother. We needed help creating ours. That's not shameful. That's human. They worked through the night, crafting a statement that was honest without being defensive, that acknowledged the complexity without apologizing for the love underneath it all. At dawn, Arya's phone rang. Her mother. Baby girl, I need to tell you something. Her mother's voice was shaky. The biopsy came back. It's not cancer. It's just scar tissue. I'm okay. Arya closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. Oh, thank God. Mama, I'm so glad. But honey, why did Dr. Thorne call me? Why did he say he was making sure I got the test because of complications with your situation? What's going on? What aren't you telling me? This was it, the moment Arya had been dreading. She took a deep breath. Mama, I need you to listen. And please don't hate me. I did something. Something complicated. And it's about to become very public. I'm in Maine. I'm pregnant. And the baby isn't mine to keep. The silence on the other end was crushing. Then her mother said quietly, "Tell me everything. From the beginning. No more lies." So Arya did. She told her about the Sterlings, about the surrogacy, about Vivienne's threats, and the press conference planned for that morning. She told her about the impossible choices and the desperate bargains and the money that saved her mother's life. When she finished, her mother was quiet for a long time. "You did this for me," she finally said. "You sold 9 months of your life to save mine. I did it because I love you, and because I couldn't watch you die when I had the power to save you." "Oh, baby. My brave, foolish, beautiful baby." Her mother's voice broke. "I'm not mad. I'm terrified for you. But I'm not mad. I wish you'd told me. I wish you hadn't carried this alone. I couldn't burden you while you were sick. That's what mothers are for. Carrying burdens." Her mother took a shaky breath. "So what happens now?" "Now we tell the truth, and hope the world doesn't destroy us for it. Then you tell it with your head high. You did nothing wrong. You saved 2 families. Mine and theirs. That's not shameful. That's love." At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Brooke Sterling, Clementine Sterling, and Arya Vance appeared via video link at a press conference in Boston. The room was packed with reporters. Brooks went first, his voice steady. "My name is Brooks Sterling, and I'm here to tell you the truth about my family before someone else tells you lies." He explained Clementine's infertility, his own genetic issues, the surrogacy arrangement with Arya, the desperation that drove them to it. Then Clementine spoke, tears streaming down her face. "I can't have children. That's my reality. But I can love them. I can raise them. I can be a mother in every way except biology. And that's enough. It has to be enough." Finally, Arya. Her hand rested on her small bump, visible now under her simple dress. "I'm carrying a child for people I barely knew 3 months ago. I did it because my mother was dying and I was out of options. But I stayed because I believe in what we're doing. I believe that family is what you build, not just what you're born into. I believe that love matters more than bloodlines. And I believe that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help." The questions came like gunfire. Are you being paid? Is this legal? What about Mrs. Sterling? What happens after the baby is born? They answered honestly. Yes, there was compensation. Yes, it was legal. Yes, Vivienne was fighting them. And yes, Arya would walk away after the birth, because that was the agreement. The press conference lasted 45 minutes. When it ended, the internet exploded. Half the country called them heroes. Brave people standing up to a tyrant. Love conquering money. The other half called them frauds. A scheme to defraud an elderly woman. A surrogate selling her body. A weak man choosing a barren wife over his family legacy. And in her Beacon Hill townhouse, Vivienne Sterling watched the press conference with cold calculation. They thought they'd won by going public, by controlling the narrative. They had no idea they'd just given her exactly what she needed to destroy them all. She picked up her phone and called her lead attorney. "File the custody suit. Today. I want emergency injunctions. I want that surrogate's medical records subpoenaed. I want every text, every email, every financial transaction exposed." Her voice was ice. "And I want my son to understand that when you declare war on Vivienne Sterling, you don't just lose. You get annihilated." The real battle was just beginning. 3 months later, Arya stood in the bathroom of the Bar Harbor house, staring at her reflection. 5 months pregnant now. The bump was undeniable, round and firm under her shirt. Inside, the baby moved constantly. Little flutters that felt like butterflies trapped under her skin. She pressed her hand against the movement. Hey in there. Big day today. We're going back to Boston. The lawsuit had been grinding forward, like a machine designed to crush people. Vivienne's lawyers had filed 17 motions: emergency custody, medical record subpoenas, financial audits, each one designed to humiliate, to expose, to destroy. But something unexpected had happened after the press conference. Public opinion had shifted. Social media exploded with support. Infertility support groups rallied behind Clementine. Women's rights advocates defended Arya's bodily autonomy. Even some conservative voices argued that Brooks was protecting his family from a controlling parent. The narrative Vivienne tried to control had slipped through her fingers like water. Still, she wasn't done. She'd demanded a face-to-face mediation. All parties present. At the hospital where this whole thing started, Brooks had wanted to refuse. But their lawyers said it might be their only chance to settle before the lawsuit went to trial. So Arya was going back to Beacon Hill General. Back to where she'd first seen the Sterlings and made the choice that changed everything. The drive took 4 hours. Brooks and Clementine met her in the hospital parking garage. Clementine looked thin, worn down by months of legal battles and public scrutiny. But when she saw Arya, her whole face transformed. "Look at you," she whispered, hands hovering near Arya's stomach. "May I?" Arya nodded. Clementine pressed her palms against the bump, and right on cue, the baby kicked. Clementine's eyes filled with tears. "That's my child," she said softly. "That's our baby. Brooks, feel this." Brooks placed his hand next to his wife's. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. For a moment, the three of them stood in the dim garage, connected by the life growing between them. "Whatever happens in there," Brooks said, "we're in this together. All of us. No one gets sacrificed to make peace with my mother." They rode the elevator to the 4th floor VIP wing. The same wing where this had all started. Same marble floors. Same expensive perfume smell. But everything had changed. Vivienne sat in the conference room with her lawyers, 3 of them, all in suits that cost more than Arya's car. Dr. Silas Thorne sat in the corner, looking like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. "You're late," Vivienne said without looking up from her phone. "We're exactly on time," Brooks replied, holding Clementine's chair before sitting beside her. Arya sat on his other side, a united front. Margaret Chen, their lawyer, spread documents across the table. "We're here in good faith to discuss settlement terms. My clients are willing to. Your clients are willing to nothing." Vivienne finally looked up, her eyes scanning Arya with the same assessment as before. Like she was livestock being appraised. "I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to present reality. You will dissolve this fraudulent surrogacy arrangement. The child will be given to a legitimate adoption agency. Brooks will divorce Clementine and marry someone capable of producing heirs naturally. And Miss Vance will sign a comprehensive NDA and disappear from our lives permanently." "That's not happening," Clementine said quietly. "Excuse me." Vivienne's tone could have frozen fire. I said that's not happening. None of it. Clementine stood up, and Arya saw the transformation. This wasn't the broken woman from months ago. This was someone who'd found her spine. You don't get to decide who Brooks marries. You don't get to decide what happens to our child. You don't get to terrorize people into submission anymore. Sit down, Clementine. You're embarrassing yourself? No. You're embarrassing yourself. You're a woman so obsessed with legacy that you forgot what family actually means. It's not about bloodlines or empires. It's about love. It's about showing up for people, even when it costs you everything. Vivienne stood, her chair scraping against the floor. You are nothing. A failure who trapped my son with pretty words and false promises. And when this lawsuit is over, you'll be exposed for the fraud you are. Then expose me. Clementine's voice was steady. Tell the world I can't have children. Tell them about the surrogacy. Tell them whatever you want. Because I'm done being afraid of you. Careful, dear. You forget what I can take from you. You can't take anything I'm not willing to lose. And Brooks. Clementine turned to her husband, her eyes shining. Brooks isn't yours to control anymore. He's mine. And I'm his. And we're building something you'll never understand. Because you've never actually loved anyone except yourself. The slap came so fast Arya barely saw it. 1 second Clementine was standing. The next, Vivienne's hand cracked across her face with a sound like a gunshot. Clementine stumbled back, hand flying to her reddening cheek. The room went absolutely silent. Then Arya stood up. She didn't think, didn't plan. She just moved, stepping between Vivienne and Clementine. Don't you touch her, Arya said, her voice low and dangerous. Don't you ever touch her again. Vivienne's eyes narrowed. Move aside, girl. This doesn't concern you. It absolutely concerns me. I'm carrying her child. I'm protecting her family. And I'm done watching you abuse people because you have money and they don't. You want to talk about abuse? Vivienne's voice rose. You sold your womb like a commodity. You took money to hide a pregnancy like some shameful secret. You're nothing but a... The second slap was louder than the first. Vivienne's hand connected with Arya's face, the force of it snapping her head to the side. Arya gasped, her hand automatically going to her stomach, protecting the baby even as pain exploded across her cheek. Brooks was on his feet instantly, putting himself between Arya and his mother.
Security! Get security in here now!
Don't you dare, Vivienne hissed. I am Vivienne Sterling. This hospital has my family's name on the East Wing. You think security is going to touch her again, and you'll be arrested for assault. The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. A woman in her 60s stood there, wearing a hospital badge that read, Chief of Staff, Dr. Patricia Morrison. Behind her were 2 security guards. Mrs. Sterling, I need you to step back. Doctor, Morrison said calmly. Do you know who I am? I know exactly who you are. I also know that no amount of money buys you the right to assault people in my hospital. Dr. Morrison looked at Arya. Are you all right? Arya's cheek was throbbing, her ears ringing. But the baby was moving normally. She nodded. I want to press charges, Brooks said. My mother just assaulted a pregnant woman. I want her arrested. Vivienne laughed. It was a horrible sound. You would have your own mother arrested For defending our family legacy from parasites and con artists. No. I would have a woman who just committed assault arrested for assault. Brooke's voice was steel. Because that's what you are, mother. Not family. Not legacy. Just a woman who uses violence when she can't control people anymore. Dr. Morrison nodded to security. Mrs. Sterling, you need to leave the premises. If you refuse, you will be escorted out, and the police will be called. This is absurd. I donate millions to this hospital. And we're grateful for your family's generosity, but it doesn't give you immunity from consequences. Dr. Morrison's voice was firm. Leave. Now? For the first time in her life, Vivienne Sterling looked uncertain. She glanced around the room. At the lawyers gathering their things, at Dr. Thorne refusing to meet her eyes, at her son standing protective over two women she'd tried to destroy. "This isn't over," she said quietly. "I will not let my grandchild be raised by failures and frauds. I will fight this until the child isn't yours to claim." The new voice came from Dr. Thorne. He stood up, his hands shaking but his voice steady. "Mrs. Sterling, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago." "Silas, sit down." "No. I'm done sitting down. I'm done lying for you." He pulled a file from his bag. "These are Brooke's fertility tests. The real ones. From 18 months ago. The ones you told me to delete." The room went absolutely still. "Brooks has severe oligospermia with genetic markers for progressive testicular failure. He's been infertile longer than Clementine. Longer than you've known. The reason they needed a surrogate isn't just because of Clementine's condition. It's because even with her eggs, the chances of Brooks's sperm successfully fertilizing them were nearly zero." Vivienne's face went white. "You're lying. I wish I was. But I'm a doctor first. I took an oath, and I've violated that oath for 12 years serving you." Silas set the file on the table. "The truth is, Mrs. Sterling, your obsession with bloodlines and legacy is built on a genetic impossibility. Your son can't naturally produce the heirs you're demanding. The only reason there's a baby at all is because of a donor egg, advanced reproductive technology, and a woman brave enough to carry a child that isn't genetically hers." Vivienne grabbed the file, her hands shaking as she flipped through the pages. Aria watched emotions flicker across her face. Disbelief, rage, grief, denial. "This can't be Brooks. Tell me this isn't true." Brooks met his mother's eyes. "It's true. I've known for over a year. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd blame Clementine anyway. You'd find a way to make it her fault. Just like you're doing now. But the legacy, the Sterling name, will continue with the baby Aria's carrying. A baby who is biologically mine, legally Clementine's, and carried by a woman who gave up 9 months of her life to make it happen." Brooks' voice softened, just slightly. "This is what love looks like, mother. Messy and complicated and imperfect. But it's real, and it's more valuable than any empire you've built." Vivienne stood there, the file slipping from her fingers, papers scattering across the marble floor. For the first time since Aria had met her, Vivienne Sterling looked lost. "I just wanted," her voice cracked. "I just wanted the family name to continue, to matter, to mean something after I'm gone. Then let it mean kindness instead of cruelty." Clementine said softly, "Let it mean a family built on love instead of control." Let it mean your grandchild grows up knowing they were wanted so badly that three strangers became family to make it happen. Vivienne looked at Clementine, then at Aria, then at her son. Something in her face shifted. Not acceptance. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. I need to think. She walked toward the door, then paused. Without turning around, she said quietly, I'm sorry. For the slap. For all of it. Then she was gone. The room exhaled collectively. Brooks pulled Aria into a careful hug, mindful of her stomach. Are you okay? Is the baby? We're fine. Both of us. Aria touched her still, stinging cheek. Is it weird that I feel sorry for her? Not weird. Human. Clementine joined the hug. The three of them standing together. She's spent her whole life building walls. Now she has to decide if she wants to tear them down. Dr. Morrison cleared her throat. I'll need statements from all of you for the incident report. And Ms. Vance, I'd like our obstetrics team to check you over. Just to be safe. An hour later, Aria lay on an exam table while a technician did an ultrasound. On the screen, the baby was clearly visible now. A whole person, sucking their thumb, heart beating steady and strong. Everything looks perfect, the technician said. Heart rate good. Movement normal. You've got a healthy baby in there. Aria stared at the screen, memorizing every detail. In 4 months, this baby would be born, would be placed in Clementine's arms, would become someone else's child while Aria walked away. The thought should have hurt. Instead, it felt right. Like finishing a story she'd been writing for someone else. Like giving a gift that mattered more than anything she'd keep for herself. 4 months later, on a clear October morning, Aria went into labor at Maine Medical Center. Brooks and Clementine were there within 2 hours, having chartered a helicopter the moment Aria called. The birth took 11 hours. Aria had never experienced pain like that, waves of it that threatened to split her apart. But every time she wanted to give up, she felt Clementine's hand in hers, heard Brooks' encouraging voice, remembered why she was doing this. At 14:47 a.m., a baby boy entered the world screaming his lungs out. He's perfect, the doctor said, placing the wet, furious infant on Aria's chest. Absolutely perfect. Aria looked down at the baby, at his scrunched face and flailing fists and shock of dark hair. He had Brooks' chin, the donor's nose, his own personality already shining through in the way he demanded to be heard. She whispered. I'm Aria. I carried you for 9 months, and now I'm going to give you to your real parents. Be good to them, okay? They love you so much. Then she handed him to Clementine and watched a mother meet her son for the first time. Clementine cried huge, gasping sobs as she cradled the baby against her chest. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Brooks wrapped his arms around his wife and son, his own tears falling freely. He's here. He's really here. Aria watched them from the hospital bed, her body exhausted, her heart full and breaking at the same time. This was the right thing, the good thing. But that didn't make it easy. A nurse brought her paperwork, the official documents transferring parental rights. Aria signed them without hesitation, her hand steady even as tears blurred her vision. You're amazing, Brooks said, looking at her with something like awe. What you've done, there aren't words. Just love him. That's all I need. 3 days later, Aria was released from the hospital. She said goodbye to the baby, to Thomas Brooks Sterling, named for Brooks' father and carrying hope for a better legacy. She said goodbye to Clementine, who promised to send one photo, just one, so Arya would know he was happy. And she said goodbye to Brooks, who handed her an envelope. The trust fund, and something extra. You gave us everything. This is just, it's nothing compared to what you gave. Arya didn't open it until she was back in Boston, in her apartment that felt both familiar and strange. Inside was a check for $500,000 and a handwritten note. Arya, you taught us that family is what you build, not what you're born into. You gave us a son. You gave us hope. You gave us the courage to stand up to the person we feared most. Whatever you do with your life from here, know that you changed ours forever. With eternal gratitude and respect, Brooks, Clementine, and Thomas. Arya put the note in a drawer along with a single ultrasound photo she'd kept. Someday, maybe, she'd tell her own children about this. About the year she carried someone else's baby and learned that love had nothing to do with biology and everything to do with choice. But for now, she had her own life to rebuild, her nursing license to restore, her mother to take care of, fully recovered now, cancer-free, proud of her daughter in ways that made Arya cry. 1 year later, Arya was working the night shift at Beacon Hill General when she saw them. Brooks and Clementine, walking through the main entrance with a stroller. Thomas was over a year old now, chubby, cheeked and laughing at everything. Arya ducked into a supply closet. She wasn't ready. Didn't know if she'd ever be ready. But then she heard footsteps stop outside the door. A gentle knock. Arya, Clementine's voice. I know you're in there. I saw you. Please, just for a minute. Arya opened the door. There they were, her past standing in her present. We're not here to make you uncomfortable, Clementine said quickly. We wanted you to see that he's happy, that he's loved, that what you did mattered. Thomas chose that moment to reach his arms toward Arya, babbling something that sounded like, "Oop." He does that with everyone, Brooks said. He's ridiculously friendly. Takes after his dad. Arya looked at the child, at this person who'd lived inside her body, who carried half of Brooks' DNA and none of hers, who was being raised by strangers who'd become something like friends. He's beautiful, she said simply. He is. And there's something else. Clementine pulled out her phone and showed Arya a photo. A professional portrait of Brooks, Clementine, Thomas, and... Is that Vivienne? Arya asked, shocked. She's trying. It's slow. She still says inappropriate things about half the time. But she's in therapy. She's learning to be a grandmother instead of a general. Brooks smiled. Thomas is the only person she's ever loved without conditions. It's changing her. Slowly. But it's happening. That's good. They stood in awkward silence. So much history between them. So much they couldn't say. Finally, Clementine said, I know you said you wanted to walk away completely. That you didn't want updates or photos or any of this. But I wanted you to know that there's a college fund in Thomas' name, with your name listed as the benefactor. So, when he's old enough, he'll know that someone brave gave him the gift of life, someone who expected nothing in return. Arya's vision blurred. Thank you. No, thank you for everything. For all of it. They left. and Arya watched them disappear down the hallway, a family she'd helped create, walking toward a future she'd never be part of. And that was okay, because she'd learned something in that year, of carrying someone else's child, of fighting someone else's battles, of choosing courage over comfort again and again. She'd learned that the most powerful thing a person can do is give something away. Not because you expect anything back, but because the giving itself is the gift. 6 months later, Arya started nursing school for her master's degree. She specialized in reproductive health and infertility counseling. She helped dozens of families navigate the impossible choices she once faced. She never forgot Thomas, but she also never regretted walking away. Because sometimes love means knowing when to hold on, and sometimes it means knowing when to let go. And in the end, Arya Vance learned to do both. Epilogue. 5 years later, on Thomas's 5th birthday, a letter arrived at Arya's new practice. Inside was a photo of a smiling boy holding a birthday cake, and a note in child's handwriting that said, "Thank you for helping me get born. Love. Tommy." Clementine had added underneath, "I asked about you today. We told him the truth, that you were the bravest woman we'd ever known. He wanted you to have this. We hope you're happy, Arya. Because of you, we are. See." Arya framed the photo and hung it in her office, a reminder that some stories don't have simple endings. They have transformations, and sometimes the people who change the most are the ones brave enough to sacrifice everything for love.